2 times a year.
Two times a year? How about two times a decade? Holy
no, I'm talking. I do 1,000 rep one of those days 2 times a year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's more like it. I was
not
about
the
to
whole
say.
plan. No, not the whole plan.
Yeah, dude. It has been hard as hell. Like, obviously, as a football player, like we do hard, like y'all make us run these crazy things and all this stuff. But just from a just lifting standpoint, this has been one of the hardest programs I've ever done. Maybe actually it's been the hardest thing. So I don't ever do that, right? Like I never do any of that stuff from a rep standpoint.
It's funny. I want to say that idea came out around 2011. I had an injured player at USC, Christian Tupou. He's a D tackle, and he had his ACL, so he was just he's all like, blow my upper body up, and then we just kept coming up with these like rep schemes that kept building, and he's like, screw it, let's do 1,000 reps, like write it up, 1,000 reps, let's just do it. So I wrote this whole, and it was pure upper body, and I wrote this thing up, and he got like 3 or 4 other teammates to come in and do it with him, just for like shits and giggles, and we all just died. And it took us I felt like it took us 2 hours, but it probably was like a little over an hour, but it felt like it was 2 hours. But we were all just like, we couldn't move. We had just onset soreness, biceps, traps. For like 4 or 5 days after. It was pretty cool. So that kind of sparked it. And then I wrote like several series of it. Like it was like volume 1. Volume 1 was the original OG that I did back at the SC. Like I kept that. And then I think I posted that several years later, and everybody's like, holy cow, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. And then like, I don't know, 6 months later, I just posted, hey, volume 2. And I ended up doing like, I don't know, 6 or 7 volumes of it or something. And then finally, I just decided to write a whole plan of it. So, because everyone really they're just like, it kicks my butt and I like it. So please give me some more, So I was like, I'll just do a whole plan. And I tell people all the time, this plan is like 3 days a week at the most. It might be like, hey, I do this 1,000 just on my Saturdays. The rest of the week I train normal, but I throw this crazy thing in on my Saturdays. So it's kind of a versatile plan. You can do it like any way you want.
See, I didn't even think about that, because obviously, the way that you explained everything, and for those who are listening and don't know what we're talking about, Aaron Ausmus right here.
Don't look into it.
It's called terrible. House of 1,000 Reps, pen and paper strength app. Me and E and his cousin and brother-in-law were on day 15 and just suffering. So, we didn't even think of doing it over 18 weeks, 1 day a week, and just train normally. We're just like, oh, let's just do all 3 in 6 weeks. We're done. And it's been crazy. I want the upper body only version.
It's a plan. If you did this thing religiously Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I couldn't imagine, how you would probably turn out after about 5 or 6 weeks of this. Just the amount of just, hypertrophy and just hypertrophy and, just the amount of probably just this muscle just swelling up, just crazy.
And that's where we are. So, it would have been nice to contact you before we did it, but we're running through it. And I am joking. I say, don't do it. You should do it, because it's hard and it's good to do hard things. And, Aaron, it's funny as we're kind of going through this, and, the group text, it started very ambitious and everybody's going back and forth, hitting each other like, oh man, you're weak, you're doing this. And now it's like, hey buddy, I believe in you. You can do it today. We're really trying to support each other, through this thing. So when you mentioned the different versions of it, I guess how when you're doing those type of things, because you've been doing this forever, for 30 something years, 35 years of programming. When you go from, okay, we're going to do a couple of days of this, to a full, 16, 18, workout type thing, how do you balance, okay, I'm doing this, I'm doing that? How do you kind of come up with it, man?
Obviously in the plan, it's written as a total body each day. So I just try to balance. Obviously the goal is to finish the bottom with 1,000 reps. So obviously you got to have some high rep things in there to get to 1,000 reps. You got to have some sets of 25 shrugs and things, because those attack the reps a lot more. If you try to do 1,000 reps with a lot of 5s and 10s, you'd be training all day. So I also know like some of the smaller muscles that you can do, like the bis tris and the traps and things like that. You can bump those reps up, get a little sting, but it knocks some of those reps out as you go, and you can still blend in some of the compound stuff with more traditional stuff like 5 reps. So it's kind of a balance of like looking at it and then writing a whole plan. I just always like look at like how the plan works from day to day to day. So I might try to, put a little bit more compound in the lower body and then the upper body's high rep or vice versa. So it's just a blend of just trying to make it balanced as you go through the whole thing.
Yeah. So obviously we're talking about the House of 1,000 Reps, but you have so many other, programs available on the app. You got Jacked and Stacked, volumes 1 through 1,000,000. So how do you come up with the different names and just, the premise behind each program that you decide to develop?
Honestly, it just kind of manifests, and I never write a plan until I feel it's all ready to go. So I'll come up with maybe as a lot of these things manifest as I'm training or as I was training with athletes or coaching athletes. And, some kid might have some saying. Actually, when I was at SC in 2019, I had kids walking down the hallway and they used to yell down to my office, stacked, jacked, and turning heads. And that was our phrase. So like I'd see the kid at the dining table and I'd be like, hey, stack jack. And he'd finish, hey, turning heads, and like, so like as I get later down the road, I'm like, oh, sounds like a cool plan to write. So, so I ended up writing that, but I waited till like, all right, I use, Gabe Richardson. I don't know if you know him. He does a lot of the artwork. He does a lot of the artwork for Sorinex with the Squatober shirts and things like that. So he's been a great, I guess I'd call him partner, colleague of mine. I always get with Gabe and I give him my vision and we just started bouncing ideas for, I don't know, several days or a couple weeks. And then slowly starts making the visual, the artwork of kind of like what this plan is. And Stack Jack Stack Jack and Turning Heads is the toughest plan that I've ever written. It's,
Oh, really?
number 1 and number 2. It's the most aggressive strength plan that I wrote. So, part 1, when I released it, I said, look, this is for a very high level motivated person. This thing is hard. It's demanding. Each session's at least 90 minutes. It's rugged, compound, hard percentage sets, mini sets. And, version 1 came out and I had the feedback from people were like, man, like I had to take a break after 2 weeks. This thing was just breaking me. They're like, what should I do? I said, just go back in, drop your training maxes 34% or 3 to 5% and just go through it. And then like, oh, it's so much better. Still hard, but could do it. And, and then everybody was like, by far hardest plan. I mean, the feedback by far hardest plan. It ain't even close. So everybody's like, we got to get a version 2. So version 2 came out, I don't know, maybe 5-6 months ago, whatever it was. But I had to look at version 1. I'm like, what made this so hard? And that's, I think I wrote version 1, I don't know, probably 3 years ago. So I always like, if I'm going to write a version 2, I really start studying version 1 again. Like, what made this thing so hard? I look at it, I'm like, oh, there's that and there's that. Oh, wow. Did I really write that percentage for them to do that? That's freaking that's borderline like impossible, or like you better have 9 hours sleep and 10 Red Bulls to be able to hit that set. So I started looking at it, I was like, oh, this is why this plan is so hard. So I started going, okay, well, I don't want to just mimic part 2. So I started seeing the characteristics of what made it hard, and I started blending that and made it the second one, changed the supersets, pairings of, back or shoulders and upper body, and just change it up, but keep they want the hard demanding sets. And, to me, that plan is like, you want to be a power lifter, go after that one. You want to be just a strong individual, go after that one. You probably could use it even in bodybuilding setting because it's got such demanding, heavy demands of the sets and reps are crazy.
Well, now I know what we're doing next, Ike.
Exactly.
So
I was
really
thinking
excited.
the same thing.
Thank you, Aaron, for providing that. How is it for you? Because you just kind of touched on somewhere I wanted to go. When you're getting that feedback and stuff, how do you manage it? Because obviously you have a ton of experience and you have it, in the field, but also you've been doing this for a long time. But is it okay if I get 10 people that say this, maybe it's something I need to address, or I got 20 people saying this, so it did what I wanted to do. How do you balance the feedback that you get from folks when they're going through these? And how often do you maybe edit or tweak something?
You know, I get most of the feedback is most of the feedback I get is people are like, I'm really just loving the simplicity of this. Um, it's challenging me. It's the structure that I needed. Kind of got out of my routine for several years. I needed something to just tell me what to
Mm,
do. So a lot of the feedback is a lot like that. I get a lot of people just saying like, I needed this in my life. Just something that just plans it out for me.
awesome.
I don't have to think and go through it. So that's a lot. You know, I've caught some people have caught like hit me up like, "Hey, I don't think this was correct," and I found I think it was I don't know the original brick house or something, and I had a rep scheme that was this it was just off or something, and I had to go in and like kind of correct it, and I put a post out like, "Hey, day 4, whatever. Hey, that's supposed to be 5 reps, not 50 reps or something." But yeah, I'll get some people. I'll get some people that kind of question like, "Hey." Um, the biggest question I get is a lot of times is uh, they want they have a hard time with the fill in the blank
Mm,
um, when you don't provide a percentage. So, you get the percentage for your compounds, anything with a barbell, your squat, your front squat, bench, deadlift, things like that, cleans. And then it might veer off, and then you got like bent over row, and everybody's like, "Well, how heavy do I go?" And it's just like, well, go a heavy that pushes you. That's why you write in your note, and then you have documentary. So when you come back next week or the next time you come over to bent over row, you're not guessing. You got some
right.
guidelines there, and you can work off that. And a lot of times, I think the biggest question is when people see something that has like a drop back or higher rep at the end. So it might go like 5, 5, 5, the last hit's 10, and it's fill in the blank. That's probably my biggest question is they're like, so do I do the same weight on the 10 as I do the 5? And I'm like, well, I don't think you should. I mean, think about it. I mean, you wouldn't do if you're trying to get stronger, if you have, a 5, that's going to be a heavier weight, and you go to the 10, it's got to be a little bit lighter so you can perform the
Mhm,
10 reps. So, and they're
mhm.
like, oh, I think I was just overthinking it. So, yeah. So sometimes like that's probably the biggest thing is like questions of how to manage and maneuver through the blanks,
Right.
the open blanks. So,
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great
Yeah.
point.
When it comes down to, exercise prescription and everything that you choose for these programs, obviously a lot of it is just dumbbells, barbells, just kind of straight up compound movements. Are you designing these programs with the equipment available in mind to the people who are going to be using them? Or did this just kind of come about, like you said, the 1,000 reps developed because you were at SC and that's typically what you were working with is barbells and dumbbells. How are you choosing the equipment?
the big thing is I want to make it to where people don't need specialized things to
Hmm.
perform. I'll put some like bands in there, strength bands, some stuff here and there, sprinkle it in, or maybe I'll put an option like, hey, band tricep push hands or cable. So if someone's got access to
Hmm.
a cable column, great. If you don't, a band is also great. So I try to keep it where if you have basically if you have a barbell or a set of dumbbells or maybe a kettlebell, a rack that you can do a chin up or pull up, as long as you can squat and press out of it, you should be pretty uh, covered to do pretty much any plan. I did come up with a dumbbell only plan um, because we started putting that into some of our training because we were just getting beat up by how much barbell work we were doing. So just some colleagues of mine, we just said, let's do a dumbbell only like whole month, and we just did basically all of our stuff with dumbbells for a whole month and just to get a break from the barbell, and it ended up being really fun, and it kind of
Wow.
sparked my mind again. Again, I'm not going to write something unless I've experienced something. So I wrote that dumbbell only plan, and that again, another one with great feedback of people like, this is what I needed. I sometimes sprinkle this in instead of the barbell day, or let us go through it as planned. And the people that travel, they're like, hey, this is my weapon. I go to these hotels
Mm.
or I go to the gym and they have dumbbell rack, I'm set to go. So just
Yeah.
stuff like that.
And I think that's what's so fun about these things. And again, encouraging whoever's watching, if you haven't seen this before, somehow, I mean, we tag you all the time, Aaron. Sorry, I'm
Yep.
sorry if we blow you up.
No,
There's so much variety in what you just said there, that there's truly something for everybody. So the excuse of I don't know what to do, I can't do it's out the window because it's all
yeah,
here. And just go to the website, go to the Instagram, you can see all that. But that dumbbell piece for me was something where I face that sometimes, right? Because I've kind of changed it now because these weight rooms are so electric everywhere you go. I can kind of sneak into
yeah,
those at these big colleges. But there were times where maybe we're 30 minutes away because we can't get a hotel close enough. And all I have, it goes up to 40s. And that's all I got. And I got to do
yeah,
something. So having
yeah.
a plan like that is so elite. And just again, the various things that you have to hit so many people is impressive to me. How did
Yeah,
you get
and I
into this,
think a
man?
lot of
How
it's
did
a
you
lot.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
A lot of it kind of stems. I'm 51 years old now, so I live very differently as a 51-year-old that I did as a 41-year-old and as a
Right.
31-year-old. So, like, the dumbbell, it kind of manifests for me. Like, I started having to use some dumbbells more often just because barbell pressing and things kind of flared me up in some spots. So, that's another thing. And also, I've kind of found as I've gotten older, I don't want to train an hour. I'm more like I like to come in and find maybe that 30-minute window, and
Mhm.
try to like I'll pick like 3 or 4 movements and just make some supersets, and I'll use my stopwatch and be like, okay, this should take around 30 minutes, and the next thing you know, it took 28. So that kind of sparked to write that program. It's called Strength on the Go, and those are all
Mm.
like 30-minute days, and it's a plug and play. So there's like 8 different days. There's 3 versions of each day, so I think it's 24 training sessions. But I wrote that one for people. It's like, hey, I'm in a hurry. I want to hit back and buys today, and I got 30 minutes. So boom, plug and play, pull a back and buy routine off that program, and you're set. Or hey, I got a leg day today. I'm doing legs only. I only got 30 minutes. There's a 30-minute leg day. So that
Yeah.
one's been kind of, again, that kind of reflects where I'm at in my programming or my training and my lifestyle now with everything going on. It's like, hey, my 30-minute window is kind of where I'm at now.
Yeah,
At
and
the,
that's fantastic. So, how did you kind of get into this thing, man? I mean, it's again, you mentioned how long you've been doing it. We talk about how you've come up with some of these things, but when was your first time you wrote down something and you were like, I think this can be a business for me?
um, honestly, I started writing my programming down when I was about 15 years old.
No way.
Um, yeah,
Wow.
I got in the gym. And my friend introduced me to lifting. I was a freshman in high school, and I started just going to the gym with him, and I just did everything he did. He was a year older, he was bigger, he was stronger. So I just followed him. He's bench press, I bench press. He'd do whatever I would do. If we did bicep day, I did bicep. So after doing training a while with him, of course you start kind of, hey, I would like to maybe start doing what I want to do a little bit more. So I was probably the first kid that walked in this like gym in my hometown with a notebook, and I had some things written down that I was going to do, and I was making my own little map and my own little plan to do, and people were like, "Well, you got a pen, what you got a notebook for?" I'm like, it's like a diary. I'm just writing in my sets and reps and keeping track." And they're like, and they kind of looked at me like, kind of going overboard, or I think you're overthinking it, but it kind of sparked back then. And um I remember, went off to college, and I had a strength coach, Tommy Moffitt, who now was at LSU forever. He's at
One of the
A&M
best
now.
ever. The best
Yeah,
ever.
so I got to be coached by this guy, and he made me really strong in college. Became a national champion shot putter for Tennessee in 1997. I think I'm still the only national champion shot putter there. So
Wow.
always try to let them know that I'm still the only national champion shot putter at that school. But anyway, uh, um, yeah, I mean, Moffitt built me in the weight room, which had great success. My throws coach was Bill Webb. I mean, obviously, it all worked together in a package to make this stuff happen. But Tommy was, I mean, he literally, like, he trained me like a freaking Russian, dude. I was like, I mean, I was our off season was a 5-day program, and it was just grueling. We
Mm.
would go into the end season, and it would drop back down to a 4-day program, still grueling, but it taught me so much just about training. And that's where I really got more into like the Olympic lifts, the snatch, the cleans, the pulls, the jerks, and things like that. So I had to become really good at those. I
Mhm.
became pretty good out of high school at squatting and benching and things, but until I adopted, I remember Tommy used to say, hey, you're bench pressing 365, but you can only clean 275. He goes, that's a problem. I'm like, what do you mean? The 275 is good. He goes, no, it's not good. He's like, your clean should be as good as your bench. And I'm like, no way. He's like, no, if you want to be good, he goes, if you want to throw that shot put far, that clean needs to mirror your bench. And it, like, all of a sudden, I'm going to these SECs, I'm getting my butt kicked, and I'm talking to these guys, man, how much you clean? 365. How much you going? 385. How much you clean? 396. And I'm like, okay, I come back to Moffitt. I'm like, okay, let's learn to clean and snatch. And he's like, well, what happened? I'm like, I talked to these guys that are really good, and they're really good at it. He's like, what? He's like, I've been trying to tell you for like 6 months. So as soon as like I really bought into like learning cleans, pushing the cleans and the snatches, and guess what happened? My throw went up like 6 feet in a matter of like 6 months. So it was just, that was like really cool to get coached by him. And, he, there would be some times of the year that he would, I had some freedom where he'd be like, hey, I coach you for 9 months during this summer. I want you to do some things you want to do. So like, I remember my first summer away from him, I bought the book, Mike Mincer, Heavy Duty Training, which I just bought another copy. I had to buy it off eBay. This guy charged me a ton. I was like, I got to have that book again because it was so special to me. I bought it back in 1994. It's right when it came out. And me and my roommate, I read it, took an hour to read. It's an easy read. It's got a lot of pictures in it, So I read it, and I read it. I called my roommate. I was like, hey, I'm going to drop off the book. He goes, you just got it in the mail an hour ago. I was like, I've already read it. He goes, all right. And I dropped it off to him. He read it, and he's like, so I think summer of 94, we did that training to a T off Mike Mincer's Heavy Duty Training, which is, take a set to failure and you're done. And it was a different mentality for me to train like that. And obviously it was a little more for bodybuilding, but I put on some great muscle growth and great strength. What it taught me more than anything is how to push a set to absolute failure. So I came back that summer. I see Moffitt. He goes, man, what'd you do? And I was like, man, I did Mike Mincer Heavy Duty. He goes, no way. He's like, you did that? I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, you've gotten a lot bigger. He's like, how do you feel? And obviously I was a little stiffer, which I didn't like. I was a little more like kind of moved around like a block, or a juggernaut. So I had to get back a little more in the athletic stuff. So as soon as I started cleaning and getting back, I kind of felt athletic again. But what it taught me was how to take a set to big time push. So when I got back into traditional sets and reps, 5 sets of 5 or 4 sets of 6, whatever, and Moffitt would have we would use percentage base. So I would just blow through the set and just rack it. And my teammates over here, like the 80% for 5, they were barely getting to the top. Oh, racking. It's like, oh my God, they're about to faint. I'm taking the 5th rep, like, boom, racking it. He's like, I got to raise your training max. I'm gonna raise it, And but the thing is like I was used to taking sets to literally till I collapsed into the rack with the safety bars. I was doing that every week in my squats. So to do a heavy set of 5 that's prescribed percentage, it was nothing to me because I'd learned just how to push farther than you're supposed to. So that was cool about that. And Moffitt, like I said, that when I had that freedom, I was writing my programs again. I came in with a notebook. Moffitt would be like, oh, what you got today? And he'd look it up and I was like, okay, you got some hang snatch, I like that. Oh, I'm going to do some pulls. It's good. Box step ups. I like that. Big, and he would look at my plan. And he's like, you look like you got, he goes, I like it. Go do it. And he knew like he was letting me do my thing. And that's where, again, those things started manifesting. We just started writing things. So.
Was there ever a time during this process of
the first probably, I guess it was probably 2014, 2015. So now we're getting a little closer to 10 years back, but I was writing a lot of stuff and just I'd just write my training out and I'd take a snapshot of it and post it on like Facebook or I think Instagram. And a lot of people are like, hey, man, I did that session, the one you posted yesterday, did today. Man, I really like that. That's pretty cool. And then I started doing that more and more and more. And it was kind of holding me accountable to my training. And I started getting a lot of people kind of like, hey, man, I really appreciate these posts because like I'm just following what you're doing. And I'm kind of liking it because I usually write my own programming. I'm just doing your stuff for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe, 2 months, and it just gives me something else to do, and I'm learning how someone else does it. So, that kind of sparked, to create, like, its own Instagram account. So that's I think 2016 early, I started the Pen and Paper Strength App Instagram account, and I literally just started posting random random training days, and just a lot of coaching content, like things I learned, a phrase, a motivation, a quote. Sometimes I've just put like comparisons of things to think about. So it was like a blend of, hey, here's a squat day with back, and then next day might be like, hey, here's some ways to use 80% in your training, and just all those things that I learned through being an athlete, doing Mike Mincer heavy duty, and then coaching all those years, just taking a kind of a blend of that, and like I was doing probably a daily post quite a bit in the beginning. And then Squatober, obviously, I'm wearing the OG shirt, this is the 2015 shirt.
Man.
2015 Squatober, we as a staff with Bert and Josh Dobby and everyone, and Dan McKim and a bunch of guys, we just decided to, hey, why don't we have a cool month? And I don't know, let's start thinking about it. So we kind of came up with, what if we paid tribute to the back squat and just said, we're going to squat every day in the month of October, and we're just going to pay tribute to the back squat. It's the king of exercises. And then we just like, oh, cool. When do you want to start? And this is early September. And we're starting in October. And then I don't know, just the Squatober came out just authentically like, hey, let's call it Squatober. We're going to squat every day. So the first year we came out with the shirts, we were all hitting it. And there was no plan though. There was just like, it was like, it was, do it at your own pace. So the only thing was like, hey, just squat every day, just squat. I don't care if you back squat, whatever it is, but just try to get squats. So that year, I know myself, I squatted every day, like Saturday, Sunday, every day. And I actually was writing my own plan. Like, okay, yesterday I went heavy threes. So today I'm going to do some light fives, and then I'm going to do some heavy doubles, and I'm going to do some light eights. So I kind of, again, writing my own plan just to keep the intensity balanced throughout the whole month. Well, I ended up getting really, really strong that month, and my legs got so much bigger, and my bench was at its like all-time high from squatting so much. The strength the squat puts in the total body, and we had a lot of people just jumping in around mostly the United States, just some coaches and stuff. They were like, hey man. And then we had the shirt, Sorinex had the shirt, and a lot of people just got the shirt. So this one's really rare because there's not a lot of people that had this shirt. It's like it was the beginning, which sparked the next year. I was like, what if we provided an actual plan for people to do through the Squatober? So we started that, and that was first year was 2016. It was 6 days a week. We took Sundays off. We said, hey, a lot of people is not going to have access to a weight room and stuff on Sundays. A lot of mom and pops gyms, they're closed on Sunday and things like that. So we did it 6 days a week. And I think we did it 2016, 17, and 18, 6 days a week. 2019, we pulled it back to 5 days a week. And the reason why was we saw that the drop off, and there was a lot of people that just weren't doing the Saturdays. I don't know why. Just it's a lot, it's my weekend, it's my time. I've squatted Monday through Friday. Isn't that enough? Like, so we would see like this great activity all week, and then Saturday we would see this, you dropped more than half. So I was like, I think a lot of people would like, I think Saturday's even the overkill. So the 2019 was the first year we went down to the 5. And of course, the people who've been doing the 6 for 3 years are like, oh, we're getting soft. Oh, why don't we do 6? 6 is the way to go. Squatober, And I was like, if I'm doing it for 5, I can write a better strength plan if I'm doing it 5 than 6, because I can take that. I know we're going to get that 2 days off rest. I can make the plan better through Monday through Friday, knowing there's 2 days rest versus 1, and I think we can get stronger from it over the over the whole month. So I think most people, love to, praise like, oh, 5 days, this is perfect, but there was still the hardcore people like, oh man, we got to go 6. Why don't we go 7? So it's like, all right, buddy, but yeah, I mean, I mean, we're coming up on year 12. It'll be this fall, year 12. We're already designing things, and
Nice.
I usually start writing the Squatober plan. Actually, I usually write the plan in July and August. Um, and I just start getting it ready for the month coming up. So I usually take my time on that one. I don't try to sit down and go, I got 1 week to write this plan. I usually write that plan out probably over about a 6 week period.
Mm.
Um, and I'll trial a lot of those things too, just kind of playing around myself, just to, um, which gives it the ideas of doing some of those. Some of the funnest days are just the days that are kind of like quirky, but they're fun. Like pressure cooker and, um, stairway to Strongville and the Cindy reps and all those things. So like those things just kind of came up over time, over the years. Like there's just, and that's why I blended in. But those are the fan favorite days. Like when we have a basic day when it's like, hey, we're going to squat 4 sets of 5, this, everybody's like, oh, okay, cool. But when it's those weird days that are challenging and it's like, hey, you gotta connect the dots to get to the mountain and all this stuff, they're like, yeah, that was the best day ever. And I'm like, it's still just training. I just made it a little bit fun with a theme, so. But those days bring people back, and that's why every day I write Squatober, I always say, if they do this, will they still come back tomorrow? So I don't make each day too crazy. Or if there's a crazy day, then there's usually a really ramp down day to follow it. So I just want people I want them to have success. That's why we really recommend like the training max. Like, hey, don't go off your actual max. You're squatting daily. Think about this as a major compound movement. Bump it down to 90. If you're a real experienced guy, meaning like to me, your lifestyle is good. Like you really, really take sleep serious. You really feed yourself well. Go to a 95. You know, but that's kind of why we recommend using the training max, because it's a lot when you pack in. Like if you look at the amount of work in 1 week, it would be hard to do that on working off a true max.
Yeah, because this past October was, I don't even remember how it came up, but Eric was just like, man, what are we going to do next? He's like, we should do Squatober. And that was our first time doing it.
Yeah.
And kind of like what you were saying about, just learning how to push from one program and just kind of realizing as you get older, I only want to train for 30 minutes. Doing that Squatober, the first week, we were like, all right, this is cool. Then that Monday came and I was just like, oh my God, how are we going to do
I
this?
can walk again.
But that was the first time in so many years that I had trained Monday through Friday and had the weekends off, because I usually train on Saturday, Sunday. And I was like, this is what it's like to have the weekend off to, train hard, still recover and do something else outside the gym. I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And I don't think ever since October, we started a little bit late. So we'll say October 3rd of 25. I haven't lifted on the weekend really. If I had, it's been by choice, but I was like, that was life changing in the fact that I got my schedule back and just kind of, just a reason to look outside of my normal training and still get strong, because it was some hard work for sure.
Yeah, it's to me, we get tremendous feedback. I get, Sorinex gets tremendous feedback. I get a lot of feedback through people with DMs and emails. And the best part, I mean, the best part about Squatober to me is hearing people say it got them back. And, we get, I mean, there's some crazy stories of what Squatober has done for people between, I mean, alcoholism, drug addictions, people that have been very obese, who've been on a couch for years. It got them off and they did this and it changed their life. Just the walking daily. I have people who are like, hey, I did Squatober. I did those walks. It's 6 months later. I'm still walking. I'm not lifting like I did in Squatober. I'm still walking daily. I've lost 80 pounds. My wife's doing it with me. She's lost 30 pounds. Squatober changed our path. It's those are or people, hey, I got away from lifting, man. I was 2 years, I was just doing nothing, little this, little that. This program got me back. I'm motivated. I'm lifting 3 days a week religiously now. That thing put me back on my track. So that's what I mean. To me, that's when we get those things back. That's the gift of Squatober. Okay, you get a big max. You'll probably get a big bench too from all the squatting. And I mean, we press too. But like when people, hey man, my max went up 55 pounds, man. I can't
Come
thank you
on.
enough. Those are the ones I'm like, that's great. Hey, awesome. But the ones when we hear it changed like the trajectory of what their life was doing, that's the wins. And I always tell them that's the gift of Squatober. That's the
Right.
things that no one even talks about what it did. And again, I've coached a lot of athletes over my career. I've had a couple athletes, DM and go, hey, I was in a bad place, and I knew this program was coming from you. I knew you from the past, and I was like, I'm gonna give it a try, and did it. And like, it got me out of it got me out of a bad place. So
Man,
it was good.
that's amazing.
Some really cool stuff.
Yeah, that's powerful, and it's something that we're all doing together, right? Like you
Yeah.
take a break from your normal training, take a break
Yep.
from whatever programming you're doing, and we're for a month we're all going to do this, and how y'all repost and share, and there's like this built-in community on top
Yeah.
of
It's
those
big.
amazing stories. It's cool. It's just cool for everybody to suffer
It's
together.
worldwide, and to see people in
Yeah.
the comments supporting each other. Somebody,
Yes.
always has to ask. Somebody always has to ask the awkward question. Hey, I'm new to this. How do these percentages work? And
Right.
I know I don't need to jump and dive into all these questions because there's been people that have done this for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. They go in, they're like ambassadors, and they just go in like, "Hey, man, you need to know your max. These percentages come off your max. Oh, okay, thanks for the help, man." And that just is like a whole month of people just
Right.
cheering you on, supporting you, encouraging you, and that's what makes it fun. Is you go to your rack and you put the bar, and you're like, "Hey, I'm doing this, but I know Bobby's doing this, and I know Sarah over in Oregon, she's doing this same thing today. And the guy over in Australia, he's 17 hours ahead of us. He's already done it, so he's expecting me to do it because he did it
That's right.
17 hours ago. And that was the cool thing was when we would post, we would get the guys from like New Zealand and Australia that's so far ahead. They'd be doing the lift, and I'm like, how in the heck are they doing that lift? I'm like, oh shoot! I started putting the timeline together. Okay, they're waking up in the morning. This is the next
Yeah.
day. They're doing it at like 6 a.m. and we just posted it. It's
It's
crazy.
incredible. It's a great. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you, just from like that competitor standpoint, we're looking through and say, all right, who's the biggest dog today? Who's pushing the most weight today?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
am I close to that? Am I fighting with that? It's really fun community, man. Last one for me, man. This has been so much fun. We got to have you back on because there's so many different parts of your story that I would love to dive in. But just that relationship situation between when you're the head guy, you're the strength coach with these unbelievable athletes, and what you're doing with Sorinex and the programming with pen and paper. How is going back and forth for that for you? What's the biggest differences? What's kind of the highs and the lows of flipping back between those when you did?
Um, I mean, I feel like I've always coached. Um, I think even back in high school, I was always coaching. I was trying to help guys with their form, and I'd see guys like, see it. They bench press it, but it was ugly, and I'd be like, look, let's try to work on your form. So I feel like I always started coaching it, especially in the weight room. Um, and then obviously it catapulted me right to be a college athlete, which got me under like a, a Tommy Moffitt who got to put his, stamp on me. And I actually got coached my last year by Chris Carlisle, who was at SC for all those years and with Pete at Seattle. He coached me my last track season, the last half of my track season. So I got to now a new guy was coming in. And then Chris, obviously, Coach Carlisle offered me my first job at USC back in
Mm.
2001. I was his assistant. So I literally fast tracked into this thing. I was like athlete, then I was a GA at Tennessee in 98, 99, and then 2001, January 2001, I was out. Lived in Tennessee my whole life. I moved to Southern California And,
A little bit of a
you know,
culture shock, I would
yeah,
assume.
and you know, and I was jumped right in, and then it was crazy because Coach Carlisle was dealing at that time. He took the job, but he was dealing with some health issues with cancer, and he was having to fly back to, I think, Atlanta for treatments every other Friday for the weekend. So every Friday, I was the head strength coach at USC. I was 26 years old.
Wow.
Because he was gone, and he's like, "You're in charge."
Yeah.
So the
And for those that
experience,
don't remember, that was like some of the best college football teams ever.
yeah, and I remember I was like Thursday night, couldn't sleep. I'm like, "I got the floor tomorrow. Like, I gotta run this USC football, and Pete Carroll's gonna be watching me, and Coach O's gonna be watching me." But the experiences I, got to do that early, how it just helped mold me for, like, my first head job, which was in '04. I mean, just those, I think it was probably 4 Fridays I got to do that, but those 4 Fridays was, like, crazy experience to get at a youngest. I mean, I was my first year as assistant. So, those things, those times with the athletes and coaching, and then I think I coached all the way up till 20, 2013 was my last year. I mean, I bounced between Idaho was my first head job. I was at Ole Miss with Coach O for 3 years. I was really briefly at North Texas, and then I was at 2009 at Tennessee with Lane. And then Lane decides, SC's his, dream job. Well, I'm from Tennessee. I went to Tennessee. I All-American Tennessee. So when I got to Tennessee with Lane, I'm like, this is it. I'm back to like home base. And so Lane obviously comes back out here. Well, I'm following the job, so I'm back out to Southern California. I've got 2 little kids. They were like 4 and 2 at the time, and that was 2010. And then 2013, you know, Lane gets let go. Coach O's interim. It didn't work out, so we all, you know, had to pack our offices up and move out. And that's when I kind of got to talking with Bert, and over time, and he was like, "Look, we're trying to get more people on the outside selling and doing things for us. We got Dan McKim in the Midwest. We're thinking about, you would be the next outside sales guy." So he started working out, and I did that for 5 years, and it was great. Things came out of that. Squatober came out of that time. Um, making pen and paper strength app Instagram account came out of those, getting to do that. If I was stayed in coaching, none of that would have manifested, and everybody talks about, getting on a different trajectory. I mean, that put me on a different trajectory at the time. And, but I was still in the game. My kids were young. So I was once getting to coach them now a little bit. I was coaching their little league team, their flag football team. They're helping with soccer, and getting to spend some time with them. And but I was still getting to visit weight rooms and be around strength coaches. And I would go the morning. Like, I would ask the strength coach, like, "Hey, what time's your first group in the morning?" "Oh, we go at 6." I'm like, "Okay, I'll be there." And I used to purposely get there at like 4:45 and just stand at the door because it's locked. And the coach would walk up, look, with his coffee or, with his Red Bull, whatever he's got. And he's like, "Man, we don't start till 6. What are you doing here?" I'm like, "Hey, I'm a coach, man. I'm here, And they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, man, that's pretty cool." And I'd go in, I'd help them set up, help them set the weight room up, and then I'm like, "Look, I'm going to get out of the way." He's like, "No, no, no, roam around, man. Coach my coaches." And I was like, "No, man, I'm staying out of your program. I'm going to stand back and watch." And he's like, "Well, when we're done, I want to talk to you, And then they'd finish the session, and then the coaches, I go in the office. They were like, "Hey, coach, come on in here." And they'd be in a staff room, and they'd be all at a round table with a freaking pen and paper ready to take notes. And I was like, wow. But it was the respect.
Right.
The respect was, they knew I was a coach, and I coached at a high level. Uh, and they want to come in, they're just trying to bleed me out like a sponge. I mean, they're trying to suck me up like a sponge. And they'd be like, "Coach, what'd you think of our cleans?" And everybody's like, "No, just be honest. be honest. Like, how is our technique? What do we got to get better? I'm like, this and that. Keep up, stay on your feet a little longer. Pick your feet up a little early. Oh, yeah. And then, and they was like, what do you think about, it was, to me, it was really like, it took me back, like, wow, all that experience, like, people do respect that, and people do want to learn, and people want to get better and ask questions. So that was like for almost right at 5 years doing that role. Obviously we sold weight rooms and things like that, but I never went into any situation with a school. I was never in there as like a sales guy. I was in there just like, hey, I'm here, I'm gonna watch. And then like it maybe eventually manifested into selling a great weight room to them. But it was this just I was on the same level, and it made things really easy to do the job. And and Bert always used to say, like, who's not gonna not let you in the wear, you know? Because a lot of strength coaches are like, when they hear a guy calling like, "Hey, I'd love to come by and show you our newest, whatever," and like, I don't have time, that's hit me in 6 months. We got spring ball coming up, I can't be thinking about that. But like, it was cool. And then I jumped back into coaching in 2019 back at SC. It was actually my third stint. So I got hired with Pete as an assistant with Chris Carlisle. I got hired in 2010 with Lane as the head. And then I got hired in 2019 again as the head. So everybody's like, well, how'd you get hired 3 times at one school? And I always say, well, number one, it's a record. It's a record. But the human resource department, they loved me there because they would come in, they're like, "You again? Holy cow, we still got your stuff on a file." I'm
Just
like,
right back
"Yeah."
here.
They're like, "You got any kids to add to the insurance?" No, same ones. Oh, perfect. It's like, and they're like, "Wow, we're so happy to have you back." And I always tell people this: when you leave a place, don't think it's the last time, and walk out with dignity and respect. Don't run your mouth. Don't do anything stupid. Don't post something stupid like, "Hey, F this place. They did me wrong." I said, because I would not have got hired back there that second and third time if I hadn't have left with politely packing my office and politely shaking their hands and politely signing the paperwork. And again, you're just biting your lip. You want to say something or you want to do something, throw a 10-pound plate through a window or something. But, just, I always tell people, like, leave out on a good note, because they put there, would you rehire? And it's a yes or no question, and you go out there and come out respectful. They'll hire you back. So 2019 was back with play, and that was crazy for me because 5 years I was still going to weight rooms and doing those things. But that first month of coaching again, like just the amount of like tension, it was like your vocal cords and how many steps I was on my feet, and the amount of energy it was saying. I remember I came home from the first day and I thought I needed an IV. Um, and my wife was like, "Hey, how was it to coach again? Tell me about your first day." And I was like, "I don't really want to talk."
I don't think I'm
She's
doing
like,
this anymore.
she's like, "I'll get you some tea. I'll get you some whatever tea with some lemon or some honey in it for your voice." And I remember I was like, "I'm going to bed. I got to get up in 8 hours and do it again," And I was like, I remember the first month getting back into that setting, like I was struggling. I mean, I was coming home like, I wasn't, when I got home, I literally was like, I gotta get something to eat, take a shower, and prep. I gotta get to bed for the next day because it was just exhausting.
Yeah.
And then you start getting back in shape again. And all of a sudden, you're like, boom, boom, boom. You start doing it. And obviously, 2020 was a crazy year with COVID, and I think we played 5 games at SC that year. Our season was really pushed back. And I don't think it started till close to late October. And then, get let go again. New administration comes in and coaching and all this. So, um, obviously, again, again, how you leave a job, when I had this opportunity to go, the hardest call I had was to Burke Sorn, because he was like, "Hey man, what's going on?" I'm like, "Well, I got this opportunity to coach." Whoa, whoa, whoa. Where? I'm like, USC. He's like, "Man," he goes, "You know what to do." I was like, "Yeah." He goes, I was like, I feel bad because what this company's, what we're doing, you're doing, and to be a part of this. I was like, he's like, look, man, he's like, if it doesn't work out in SC, you just come right back.
Awesome.
And
That's
I was like,
awesome.
okay. So going into the SC job, and then obviously I did a 2-year stint, and obviously with coaching, and you know, you're only as good as the contract, and you're back out, and um, to come back and then just jump back in the role and jump back in doing these things, it's been great, and just a tribute to like Bert and that whole family, the Sorinex family, to like really just honor that. And they were just super proud. I was like, I didn't want to upset Bert because I was leaving, but then he was like, no, go. We're super proud of you. Like, one of our guys is now the head strength coach at SC. He was working for Sorinex. Now he's the head guy at USC. Like, go do this. Go do it. Like, he is like, I'll be mad at you if you don't.
That's
you know?
right.
So, you know, it was great. And, you know, it was the continuity to my children to stay in this area in Redondo Beach. My youngest son just graduated last week. So I know you guys are big football guys. So I got one son playing linebacker at Fresno State. And I got my oldest son. He's he's going into his 3rd year. He's a wide receiver at Utah.
Let's go.
So it's
That's amazing.
but again, you talk about those trajectories, that time to be at home and get to coach them and coach my son in this garage and his friends, and the strength training we got to do, and getting to coach him. He was a 63-foot shot putter, 200-foot discus thrower, 2nd in the state of California in the disc, 3rd in the shot put. Just that time with them has been awesome. And to get to do that, and now to get to see them go play Division I ball. It's super exciting. So now I'm an empty nester. This is my first week, and I'm going to just say it's been tough because there's been so much work in this garage routinely with my boys, and now that's kind of like, okay, he's up in a program now. They're training him in the weight room, and it's been a kind of a weird week. The energy of the house and the whole thing, the atmosphere here. So. But you know, now this fall, now I'm looking at like, okay, you know, look at the games. You could go to this game. You know, Fresno's only 4 hours up the road from where I'm at. So, you know, now it's a fun new opportunity to, like, all right, go watch some ball or watch it on TV, or, you know, go to a road game. You know, you got choices now, so it's different.
That's right. Man, that's incredible. Thank you for the rawness and the realness of the ups and downs with this thing, man. It's such an incredible story. Like I said, we've got to have you back on to dive into more of it, man. Just because it's so
we could dive into
impactful,
just one chapter.
literally. We need a book. We need a handwritten book that you need to produce, man. This was great. Thank you for your time, Aaron.
Appreciate you, Aaron.
Fun, and
All right, take
love
care.
everything you do, bro. Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.